What's up, Plebheads? I'm Nioh, and I am joined here tonight by my brother and the man himself,
Mr. YouTube Baby.
Tonight, we wanted to share our honest, real thoughts on Nioh 2 after playing the closed alpha demo. Now, I'm going to let Mr. YouTube here break it down, lay it all on you. I just wanted to give my thoughts from the videos I edited and from the content of his that I watched while I was recording with him during our recording session for this game. I remember very fondly our time playing Nioh, the first one. Now, to be honest with you, the game did burn out for me because I was really disenfranchised with the multiplayer system. I don't know if they've changed that. Frankly, I don't care. Because when I saw what we were getting in Nioh 2, I didn't need to see anything else. At the end of the day, for me, Nioh 2 is a rinse, wash, repeat. I see nothing new and exciting here to make me say, I have to play this game. This is a $60 day one title. For me, Nioh 2 is a rent if I'm bored on a weekend and I need something to play with my brother. This is, for me, an absolute do not buy at $60. Mr. YouTube, I'm going to turn it over to you. Break it down. What did you think?
Well, I'm not as negative on it as you are, but I'm probably not a day one buyer on this. And I think for the main reason is that it just feels like Nioh 1.5. I mean, that's really what this feels like. Now, they have touched up maybe how you get skill points, right? They've kind of added a different way. You got like this branching skill tree, and the way that you become a demon in this is different than the way that you use your specials in the first game, where you just sent out like the little summon spirits after the guy.
Fair.
This one you actually become a demon, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's a cool new gameplay element.
It's a very cool gameplay element, but it isn't going to do enough to get me to buy this. But I want to start at the beginning here, and I do want to talk about first the things that I do like about this, because there are some good things. I thought Nioh, when it was released, was a very good game.
We played the hell out of it.
And we did play a lot of it. I think we were kind of in the middle of maybe like wanting another Dark Souls style thing, and it's kind of what we got for the most part, and it was with Samurai, and it was really cool.
Exactly what it is.
Challenging, fun, and I liked it. I really did. So one of the things that this game has in it, like the first game, is excellent level design. And you guys can see that right here. You've got multi-tiered levels, whether it's going up on roofs, you've got the back alleys, you've got, back doors to different places, whatever you want to call it, right? You have great placement for shortcuts, so if you can make it through maybe half the level, let's say, you're going to open up a shortcut that literally brings you right back to where you started. Really cool. So if you do die, you can respawn and you're right, halfway through the level.
Quick comment.
I love that.
Quick comment on level design. Not only do we have these multi-tier levels, but you also have a lot of options for enemy ambushes as well.
You do. Again, this is a strong point. It was a strong point in the first game. It is a strong point here. The level design is excellent. And it's something that is probably one of my favorite parts of the series.
Fair enough.
The combat is good, right? It's a tight combat. You've got your different stances. You've got your different weapons, all with their pros and cons. You've got different effects they all have, benefits, negatives, all this different stuff, right? So the combat is good. It doesn't feel much different than it did in the first game. Again, that's probably the number one complaint I have, is that it really is just Nioh again, right? Now, granted, I think they had a lot of success with the first game, and they have a very solid and core fan base, and they're going to just give them what they want, which I understand. But just understand, what you got in Game 1 is what you're getting in Game 2, right? Again, there may be some nuances that are different, but for the most part, you got your 3 stances, you got your different weapon types, and you're off and running. Another good thing, for those of you that like it, there is tons of loot. It was something we were wondering, are they going to stick with that loot-based system? Yep. And yeah, they are. I mean, you kill enemies, they just their bodies just drop into a mess of stuff. So much loot. Oh my god.
Remember in the old Diablo games when you'd kill a big
Yeah.
enemy and they'd explode and the loot would rain out of them?
That's what you got.
It's kind of what happens here.
It is. You get loot from every enemy. You get a new weapon all the time. You get arrows, and there's items, right? Just item list is like this, and that's just the first freaking level. I mean, it's just incredible how much different loot there is. So, for those of you that like that specific style of game, you're going to get it again. Another good thing they do here, you feel like you're always upgrading, right? Skill points with your weapons, right? When you kill guys, you're upgrading your weapon skill points. You're upgrading your familiarity. You're upgrading basic mastery. Every time you actually get a level, you get another point into one of your stats. So you always are getting upgrades. Something's happening for your character as you play. This is a positive. It makes you feel like you're making an accomplishment. It makes you feel like you're, getting better, that you're doing something, that your character's getting stronger. You guys know I'm a huge fan of this. And again, this game has that same sort of level grinding in it that Dark Souls basically made famous, right? Reset the bonfire or the little shrine in this game. Enemies respawn, go around, kill them again, get your Amarita or souls or whatever. Go back, level up, and you can do that in different areas and grind some levels if you're struggling. Again, that is a little bit worn out now, right? When I think of a game like Sekiro and the way they kind of changed the formula there. I want to talk about that a bit more. But
that's a point I want to make towards the end of the video. I want to do a comparison.
Dark Souls made that style of game very famous, and they're sticking with it here, so you have that level grinding if you want it, right? And with what I thought was a high level of difficulty here, again, I'm not sure if this is the first mission in the game, but I thought this was difficult. I really did. Far more difficult than the first mission in the first Nioh game. I struggled a lot here. And only once I finally summoned in another player did I start to make the progress that I was hoping to make. But yeah, I had a level grind. I had to take enemies one by one. It definitely required a learning curve. So the difficulty was high. Again, some people are going to look at a lot of the stuff in this game and think they're positive. Some people are going to say they're negatives. For me, the loot specifically is overwhelming. And I said that about the first game as well. Every 3 to 4 enemies you're stopping, and you're going through what could be 3, 4, 5 new weapons and armor. I mean, it is just ridiculous.
Yep.
And so it just continually breaks up the flow of the game.
Would you agree that this game has a very start and stop pacing to it?
Well, it does because of that fact. Every time you get a new piece of equipment, you want to check it out. I mean, that's just human nature. You want to see what it is. You want to see if it's better. I wish they had incorporated a system in here that when you pick up a new item, it would say, this new item is better than what you have. Somehow, some way, they'd give you a tell. Because a lot of times you'll see these new items and they're not any better than what you have, or they're worse. So you feel like you waste a ton of time in menus trying to see if you got something new. Unless you're able to somehow learn what all these different Umudarus do, right? All these different names, Uchigatana this, Uchi that, Minoden this, Minoden that. I mean, it's like, right? It's like a whole different language you got to learn if you want to play this. So, or you need to be willing to literally do this every time you open a chest. Go in, what did you get? Is it better than what you have? Does it make sense to equip it? Every time. It breaks up the pace in the game. It pulls you out of the game way too often. Way too often. Again, this is a complaint I had with the first game. It does not look like they're changing the system as far as how much loot there's going to be. So for me, this is going to be a complaint. again.
Look at that.
I just am not interested in looter shooters anymore, or loot-based games.
Looter slasher.
Whatever they want to call it. I'm just not interested any longer. You know, the amount of item management there is overwhelming, right? And again, it really makes you spend a ton of time in menus. So, again, you're going to be familiar with a lot of it if you're a huge fan of the first game. And maybe that's what they're thinking here. They're thinking, hey, if you didn't like the first game or if you didn't play the first game, well, you're probably not buying this anyway. And that could very well be the case. And they may just be honing in on that core fan base because they know they got those guys and gals and they're buying this. You know, fair enough. For me, I think the biggest issue with this game overall in my experience is this. And this is what I experienced. When I summon in a player, okay, I summon in a player to help me. And I must have got, maybe I got lucky, but I got some superstar. Whoever this guy was the guy. Okay? Kicking ass and taking names like there is no tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
He probably had beaten through the demo a couple times, or had been playing it since it came out. He was upgraded to the moon. He had badass weapons. He understood all the intricacies of the combat. I'm like, holy shit. So, when I summon and I get a guy in my game like that, and I am not a super experienced player, I haven't played Nioh in quite some time, to be fair, I'm basically left in awe, right? I'm standing and watching while he clears the level for me.
Not a few enemies.
No.
Every enemy.
He clears the level, and I'm basically rushing through the level to catch up to this guy. I'm not experiencing the level. I'm not improving my own skills. I'm not anything else, more or less. But this guy is basically funneling me through. And here is where I differ on how this whole entire co-op system should be made. In the first game, the only players you could summon in with you were players that had already defeated the level. Okay, to me this is idiotic, because what it does is it means you only can summon in people who are already familiar with what you're doing. Okay? So, in a game like Dark Souls, for instance, since why not compare it? Since they're basically, you know,
They're made
sisters,
after, so.
right?
Sisters who don't
What was fun for me was playing Dark Souls with a friend. Maybe somebody who was around my level, right? Or around my ability. And you'd feel like you had some help, but certainly not enough help where you would just be able to rush through the level and do nothing.
You definitely weren't invisible.
You weren't invisible.
And you experienced the level together.
Exactly. And yeah, it was like having that little crutch you could fall back on, but it was certainly not something where it was the failsafe. By making it that you have, again, I'm not sure if they're going this route or not. Maybe I just got lucky on the guy summoning, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. But for me, if they're going to keep that where you can only summon in a player that's already completed the level, it takes away one of the main reasons to buy a game like this, which is, honestly, to play through it with somebody else of equal skill level and to experience it together. My thoughts. Other people have a different opinion. My thoughts. For me, that would have to be a must if I was going to buy this day one, or if I was going to buy this at a higher price, to allow me to summon in a player of my choosing, right? Because I don't want to be carried. Okay? I do not want to be carried through the game. A summon, I want to be a partner. I want them to, you know, teach me, yes. Help me, yes. But carry me, no. And I find that happening just too often, especially in this game. And it happened a lot in the first game as well. And for whatever reason, you summon in a player, he's well familiar with the level, and it just probably natural. Again, it's nothing against the way people play the game by any stretch of the imagination. There's nothing against it. But they're familiar. They know where the enemies are. There's no sense of danger. And so you lose a sense of accomplishment when you do that. And by that token, I think the game is too difficult for someone of my skill level to play through it on their own. So I'm stuck, right? I'm stuck trying to know how I should play. And I found that happening and being very frustrating with the first game. Again, going to be different opinions here, but that's just mine. And I found the same senses happening here again. I found the same disappointments in my time with this demo, where I'm like, okay, nothing has been done to alleviate the core disappointments I had with the first game.
I wonder if, I made the statement at the start. I made the statement at the start of the video. Copy and paste game style.
Yeah.
And I really wonder if that's just what they did. No offense if they did, but I kind of wonder that.
Yeah, I just didn't see enough here to make me say, wow. Let's compare it to Sekiro, right? Because Sekiro is kind of a samurai game that came out here a couple months ago that I really like. In fact, it is one of the very best games I've played in a long time. And the reason for that is, number one, you got to do it on your own. And the game is tuned to that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But what that game does is it really makes you feel like a bona fide badass when you do it on your own, right? There's no stealth element here. At least unless I'm missing something. You got these guys, their backs are turned to you. They're looking at a light or a fire. You walk up to them and they know you're there. So I don't understand that. Why can't I sneak up on those guys? So, again, I could be totally missing something, but I'm not sure why those guys were able to see me. There's no jumping here either. So there isn't that sense of verticality. And so this game, after playing Sekiro, which just feels a lot freer in its movement and allows for this awesome sort of back and forth style of combat that this doesn't really allow. This, again, is more stamina management, which was 5 years ago, but it still is using those same systems. So it just feels like a game that is dated.
I was just going to say it.
Based on what we have now. When Nioh 1 came out, it didn't necessarily feel that way because we didn't know any better, for the most part.
Well, here's the thing. When Nioh 1 came out, I think we were looking for another game that was in that Souls-like vein. And I think that's a fair statement for us. But, now that we see what is out there and what is coming and what's possible, I think we're almost, I don't want to say over Souls-like, but I think we're getting to the point to where
that genre needs to evolve.
It does, and if it doesn't, it dies.
And you saw a evolution with Sekiro.
Yes.
Where you combine some stealth elements, some verticality.
Yes.
You combine an actual defensive, almost anti-stamina, game in a lot of ways. And now, again, when you play something that goes back to a system that was maybe developed multiple years ago,
4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago,
it feels dated in a lot of ways.
Yes.
This game, to me, does not have it has a different way of combat, but the combat doesn't feel nearly as tit for tat or as, where each fight really feels like something special.
I remember
where a game like Sekiro really makes each fight feel special.
I remember when we were recording this specific segment, you were saying to me, I'm not even going to get to be involved in these fights.
Yeah, and I'm not, because I could tell as soon as this guy got in that he really knew what was up.
And so here, basically you saw you just kind of sitting back there. Now here he goes, just runs in there, kills him. Basically does all the work. And you kind of find yourself just kind of falling back like, well, why should, another guy. I'm just following him at this point. But, so it kind of falls into that trap that you're talking about.
And there is the argument to be made, well, if you don't want carry through the level, don't summon somebody. fair enough. You can make that claim. I'm just saying, I like to play through a game like this with a friend, and I like to play through it with another person, but not somebody who is literally able to carry me through this. Like, there's no effort on my part at all. And that's kind of what we got here. I don't know if I would have been able to make it through this level on my own. And that again, that's where I feel like if I don't summon somebody, I don't make it through the level. If I summon somebody, I don't do shit to get through the level. I just literally stand there and while he fights everybody and destroys. Again, that doesn't happen on every summon by any stretch, but it does happen on a fair number of them. And I remember it specifically happening in the first game often, where the summon was quite advanced to where my skills were. And so I did a lot of following, a lot of watching, a lot of standing around, and not a lot of actual fighting. Again, the argument can be made, well, don't summon somebody then. I wish that it was more balanced. And maybe this is just something that's in the alpha and you just get whoever is there and they're going to have some sort of level limit on it or gear limit. Who knows? I don't know. All I'm saying is my experience, what I experienced. There is a sense of this game didn't evolve over the last few years like
It needed to.
the genre has, right? And when I play this, or you say, Mr. YouTube, do you want to play this? Or do you want to play Sekiro? I'm playing Sekiro. The fights feel more intimate. The fights feel more interesting. They feel more intense. This basically feels, can you outpower a guy and bash his brains in before he hits you?
Very true.
So, I don't know. I didn't see enough here to really make me think this was a $60 experience or that this was an experience that I'd have to experience again, because that's basically what they're asking you to do here is say, you're going to experience this again.
Play Nioh again, maybe with a few upgrades and tweaks.
With a few tweaks, yeah.
I want to ask you a question, and I'm actually really serious about this.
I mean, it's not a bad game. I want to make that clear. I want to just make that clear. I don't want somebody to come out here and say, well, this isn't a bad game. If you like it, you like it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Even
right.
I will agree with that.
It is not a bad game. It's just there isn't a differentiation. There hasn't been an evolution in it that really makes it compelling to me at this point.
Yep.
It doesn't mean I might actually still play it. I'm just saying, looking at it, alpha, saying, hey, this is coming up. Am I going to be here day one for $60? I don't think so.
Okay.
Where I did pay the full price for the first game and day one it. But I don't think I do it here. I don't think I have to have the same experience again.
I want to ask you a question, and this question is also open to the plebs in the comments, because this is a question that I think is really important that we ask ourselves, especially as we look at game developers, game development in general, and the evolution of gaming as we move forward into the future. So this is really important to me, and this is something that I want to get your thoughts on. You may not be able to give a full answer on it right now, but I would love to know what you can just kind of add to the conversation and discussion about it. How do you feel a game like Nioh, discussing this in general, would need to evolve to fit the mold or survive in current day gaming in a Souls-like genre? How do you feel this game should evolve? What should this game do differently?
Change the way the multiplayer works, number one. I think would be a big one just for me. Personally, just so I could say, hey, if I did want to experience this with a friend, we could legitimately experience this together through the whole game. That would be one thing they could do. Number two, I found it a little confusing, like, what each weapon was, and how it affected your overall stats and abilities. I did find it a little confusing there. And because there's so much weapons, and you're trying to actually get through the damn game and actually play the game, you don't want to spend all day in the menus. Like, that to me, again, unless you're really willing to invest a significant amount of time in reading some of these menus, there isn't a sense of just natural, like, learning that's going on.
Natural, I would say,
or intuition.
Player feedback loop. You and Dan talk about it all the time. You don't see what you want to see.
So there's a lot. Every one of these weapons has so much going on that you are spending a lot of time on item management.
Can be overwhelming.
Oh, it's extremely overwhelming. It is. And I just, again, it's personal preference probably. You know, there's going to be some people that love styles of games like this. I just don't. That's all there is. That's all to say. So those are two things for sure for me that, you know, again, look at a game like Sekiro, right? It manages to make every fight feel fresh and difficult and interesting with one weapon.
Yeah.
As your main weapon. So, this takes the opposite approach. We're going to throw the fodder, and you make it interesting based on your weapon choice. I think I probably just have evolved a little bit and seen a different approach, and I like the other approach better. I like when the developer does the work and says, we'll make it interesting, you learn this, and we'll make it interesting for you based on our enemy design. Again, different approach here. I don't know what else they could do, honestly. The Souls-like genre probably has to evolve in order to survive or to stay fresh or to be viable. And again, I was hoping that there would just be a little bit, I think, more gameplay and less systems. But it almost feels like there's more systems at work in some cases. So it just feels...
God, you're in the menus again.
Very menu heavy, very, item heavy. Again, not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I want to make that clear. And there is a certain subset of gamers that really like this. Item management, new weapons every enemy, new armor every enemy. I'm just past that. Right?
Yeah. So am I.
To where that's not fun anymore. That's tedium.
Yep.
For me.
Yep. And
so this game ends up really layering in the tedium instead of letting me focus on the gameplay. So I wish they would have changed that a little bit. It doesn't look like they're going to. So that's where we're at. We're at Nioh 1.5, ladies and gentlemen. If you love Nioh and can't wait for another round, you'll be okay here. You're going to love it.
I think so too.
If you are like me and Nioh was okay for a while, but it didn't evolve and kind of got tedious and kind of burned out, you're probably not going to buy this because the same gameplay loop is there. They have not changed that at all.
Yep. That was my biggest issue with it when I watched you play it. Very disappointed.
So, yeah, if you played Nioh and you're okay with what you played, here's round 2. Get back at it. There's a couple tweaks, a couple new systems. Being a demon is cool as hell. I won't lie. It's fun. Feel like a total badass. But just understand that item management, that tedium is there, and the multiplayer, unless they make some tweaks to it, it's still disappointing. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, Mr. YouTube, I want to thank you for coming on here tonight to discuss Nioh 2, the closed alpha demo we got a chance to get our hands on, kind of give our thoughts and opinions here. I'll be interested to see what the plebs think down in the comments. You guys can like the video if you enjoyed this honest Nioh 2 closed alpha breakdown and discussion, and we'll see each and every one of you right here next time on the Balding Plebs for more real YouTube content like this with your boy Nioh and the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. YouTube Bay.
You're welcome.
GG, you plebs.